Farewell. King Charles in tears as he's forced to make shocking decision at trooping the color. The normally stoic King Charles III was uncharacteristically overcome with emotion during the annual Trooping the Color parade on June 17, 2024. As the Queen's color was marched past the royal dais, the new monarch was seen dabbing at his eyes, his face etched with a look of profound sadness. It was a striking display of vulnerability from the famously reserved king, and one that left onlookers and the watching world wondering, what could have prompted such a powerful display of emotion from the stiff upper-lipped royal? The answer, it would soon emerge, was a shocking decision that King Charles had been forced to make in the lead-up to the grand occasion. A decision that would have profound implications for the future of the British monarchy. The events began to unfold earlier that morning, as Charles prepared to take his place on the dais overlooking the parade ground. Palace insiders report that the king was already uncharacteristically on edge, pacing back and forth and muttering under his breath as he awaited the start of the ceremony. When the familiar strains of the national anthem rang out and the household division regiments began their march, the king's composure began to visibly crack. Those closest to him noted the faraway look in his eyes and the subtle trembling of his hands as he gripped the ornate ceremonial baton that had been passed down through generations of monarchs. And then, as the Queen's color was brought forward and dipped in salute before the royal party, the normally composed King Charles III was overcome. Tears began to stream down his face, and he made no effort to hide his emotion from the watching crowds and television cameras. The reason for the king's profound distress soon became clear. In the days leading up to Trooping the Color, Charles had been forced to make an agonizing decision regarding the future leadership of the British Armed Forces, a decision that would leave a lasting mark on the monarchy and the nation. For decades, it had been a long-standing tradition that the monarch would serve as the ceremonial head of the armed forces, a role that came with immense prestige and responsibility. But in the wake of Prince Harry's dramatic exit from royal life in 2020, cracks had begun to appear in the monarchy's relationship with the military. Harry's vocal criticisms of the institution, combined with the ongoing fallout from the Prince Andrew scandal, had left many servicemen and women feeling disillusioned with the royal family. There were rumblings of discontent, with some senior officers quietly voicing their concern over the monarchy's ability to maintain its authority as the titular head of the armed forces. Aware of the growing unease, King Charles had been forced to confront a difficult reality. In order to shore up the monarchy's relationship with the military and ensure its continued relevance, he would need to make the unthinkable decision to relinquish his role as commander-in-chief. It was a move that flew in the face of centuries of royal tradition, and one that Charles knew would be met with fierce resistance from the more conservative elements of the establishment. But with the future of the monarchy hanging in the balance, the king felt he had no choice but to act. And so, as the Queen's color was paraded before him, Charles knew that this would be one of the last times he would bear witness to this hallowed ceremony as the titular head of the armed forces. The weight of that realization, combined with the uncertainty of what the future held, was simply too much for the emotional monarch to bear. In the days that followed, Buckingham Palace would confirm that King Charles had decided to formally step down as commander-in-chief, a decision that would see the role passed on to a senior member of the royal family, most likely his son and heir, Prince William. It was a seismic shift in the relationship between the crown and the military, one that would have far-reaching implications for the future of the British monarchy. But for Charles, in that moment on the dais, it was simply a heartbreaking farewell to a role that had been at the very heart of his sense of duty and purpose as the sovereign. As the nation and the world watched, the new king wept, a powerful and poignant symbol of the difficult decisions that come with the burden of the crown.